Well, as we look ahead to the Derby semi-finals on Saturday night, one man that's certainly been keeping a keen eye is Gary Hicks. I know a Greyhound enthusiast, an owner of a few years at this stage. Gary, I've often been in contact with you behind the likes of Facebook or Twitter. We've had a few messages over the years. I know you're big into the Greyhounds, but tell us your story about how you got involved in dogs and how you are where you are today.
It's a bit of a story, actually. I grew up in the Lake District. So there was no greyhound racing. It was hound trailing. And then I joined the Navy. And a couple of guys who I played football with, they said, why don't you come to the dog track? Portsmouth was inside hair, 5 runners, really tight track. And I was hooked from day one. And I was only about 20 years old then. I'd been in the Navy 3 years. And I went and bought a dog. And I bought the first litter out of I'm Slippy, who was a little bitch called Slippy Queen. We paid £800 for her from Dunmore, and she won Bitch of the Year at Portsmouth, and only beat her neck in the Golden Muzzle by Master Hardy, who then came second to Tico in the '86 Derby. So that's how I got into it, and she was my first real dog that I had on my own. And the people who I knocked around with then were the same guys who owned Flying Winner. So Grant Devonish, Harry, who you know, them guys had Flying Winner, and that's who I used to knock around with as a young kid. And then I'd through operational reasons, I came out of the sport after Slippy Queen for a while. And I then went over to one of the derbies. I went to Kyle Jack, but I went to one before that. And I absolutely loved Shelbourne Park. Couldn't get over it. Just to want to have a Saturday runner there is like having a horse run at Cheltenham to me. So I then thought, right, how am I going to do this? I met a guy down near Limerick who was an English guy called Ken Deuce, and he bred dogs with the Albany prefix. And I bought one off him as a puppy and called it after my mother. My mother's name is Marjorie. She's a bit crazy, so I called it Margie's Mad. And then while I was looking round and he was showing me Margie's Mad when she was 8 weeks old, he persuaded me to buy an open class dog, which I gave to Tommy Foster in England. And Tommy got it. He put it around Romford, then he put it around Crayford. No, he didn't. He put it around Wimbledon. Didn't do a good time. Put it around Crayford. Beat one of Ricky Holloway's Oklahoma Jack that went on to win a national about 5 lengths in a sprint. Tommy said to me, it's going to Romford Friday for a maiden. I said, it'll be a massive price, Tommy. And Tommy never used to gamble. And he gave me £100 and he said, dog doesn't know what price it is. So I made that up to 500 quid and it won at 8-1. And it beat a dog called Droopy's Brooklyn, who then came back over from UK to Harold's Cross and won the Puppy Derby.
Yeah, I remember for Ian Riley, that's right.
And we beat the dog in a maiden open around Romford at 8-1. Little did I know what I was gambling then.
Well, it also gave you a few quid loose change that you could reinvest
in
the dog. Sure.
Paid for the dog, yeah.
You've been doing it ever since, though, Gary. You've had some good dogs in recent years. I know recent years, Droopy's Latina was an absolute flying machine for you, but Kilara Icon is now your star.
Oh, so we bought him. Obviously, it comes from Brian Kennedy. Brian said, I've got this dog. He needs to be going. He needs to be running now. And I offered him an obscene low amount of money for it. He called me all the names under the sun and I bought it. And I gave him to Robert. Robert had him about a month and he just said to me, this is a Derby dog, Gary. I said, don't do anything. I'm not doing anything with him. Don't start crying to me about wanting to win this, that and the other. This is a Derby dog. You can run him in the produce. He won't win the produce. This is a Derby dog. 2 tracks for him, Nottingham and Shelbourne, and that's it. And if you have a look at what the dog was then, one day last November or December, he beat Ballymac in speed coming from behind him. No dogs come from behind Ballymac in speed before or after that. And we knew we had a dog. We just didn't know how good he was. And we were convinced he could break. And he can break, but he doesn't have the early to go to the bend with these dogs. But he's a fast dog. And he's changed his running style slightly. Just as Robert's getting him he's nearly at his peak now. Gleeson's a genius, to be honest. He's an absolute genius. And he told me 8 or 9 months ago where we would be today. And he said, this dog will get to a Derby final. He said, I'm not going to say I'm going to win it, but this dog will get you to a Derby final. And he's more convinced of it yesterday than he was 8 months ago. And he says, we're just going to follow the pace round, 2 lengths behind it. We won't get any trouble. We've got to lead the 4 dog, and that's it. The other 4 can do what they like, and we'll run through beaten dogs and qualify. And he might be right. He just might be right.
As simple as that. He is a dog that, yeah, as you say, 7 or 8 months ago when he first really appeared in the Shelbourne Park scene, he was showing devastating pace 2 to 3. Not quite getting home like he is now. The clocks in the opening 2 or 3 rounds of the Derby suggest there's no dog faster from the second bend home. And I think you'll fully agree with that.
Ian, incredible. He didn't look like he was even getting home over 5.25. And he kept saying to me, Rob kept saying to me, this is 29.30 dog now, Gary. I just don't have to push the button yet. Do you want to win the Derby or not? And that's all he kept saying to me. And, if you look at him now, he had I'm not saying he's got Sydney's 2 to 3, but he would only be a length behind Sydney's 2 to 3. But now he's doing it from 2.5 home. So he's not, he used to kick in off the second bend. Now he kicks in halfway down the back straight, but now he kicks in all the way to the line. Whereas, like you said, he wasn't quite getting home. Now he's flying home. I don't think there's a faster dog coming home than him left. And all we need to do is these superstars, and there is some absolute fantastic greyhounds, and my type of greyhounds. I'm an away and gone fella. I want him out in front if I'm having a bet. I think
if we're having a bet, we all want it out in front, to be honest, Gary.
I think we do, yeah. And the Pastana dog has been, well, you only have to have a look at the comments, and you only have to have a look at the interest that dog has gained from the Champion Stakes to now. And it's almost resurging what we're doing and what we're all trying to do to get this great sport back up there in the public eye. And then you bring in the new Taylor dog, who's slightly different to Pastana. Pastana's all about the break, but he's very fiery. Even if he gets a little bit of trouble, he wants to get to the front. In the Champion Stakes, he had no right to go around in front in that final. He could have been swamped by everything, and he didn't. He had the will to get round in front. This new Taylor dog, his pace that we don't see the sectionals, but the eye doesn't lie, from the winning line to the first bend, he's level with anything in the world. He leads them, that Taylor dog. No, so that's where you've got slightly different dogs. What I'm hoping for is that, and I think it might happen on Saturday, I'm convinced BoyleSports Extra can go up with the 3. I'm convinced he can. Maybe half a length. All I need is them to lose a half a length on me. I've got to be within 2 lengths of them coming off the second bend. Because I'm not going to get the rails. Because Pascana and BoyleSports Extra are not going to come off the rails, especially Extra. So I've got to come round the outside of the third bend. And on top of that, I've got to be in front of Ballymac Wild by then, so it's not that difficult, is it?
You're not asking for much, Gary. I suppose the key is you just want your fella to stay tight to the fence around the opening 2 bends, get himself into a nice pitch, and then, as you say yourself, press the button at halfway.
Oh, and that's him. And we had no right to qualify last week, did we? He lost an awful lot of ground. Being hesitant into the first bend slightly. I don't know why he's suddenly done that. And then he gets trouble. Then he's a mile behind, but he didn't half come home. I mean, Sydney was incredible, and it was team tactics. I don't know what he was doing down at that bottom bend, but he must have been doing it for Icon, because when Icon got inside the Sheedy dog, I didn't know he was going to win until you said it on the commentary. Even then...
To be honest, he nearly caught me out. He nearly crossed the line without me even seeing him, to be honest. He came from so far back, and I suppose your eye was drawn to Glengar Bale and to Toolmaker Sydney at that point, and he just arrived with a rush. And I called it in the commentary. I said, Kilara Icon's up. And I realised afterwards, oh my God, he's on the inside. And so often the dog on the inside isn't up.
No.
And I said to myself, I'm going to have to call him that too early. And when I saw the photo finish, it was desperately close.
And Ian, when you see him if you watch all these races, and everybody knows their own dog, nobody knows their own dog better than themselves. Even the experts won't go into it as much as the guys who follow their own dog. That dog has never stayed on into the pickup like he is now. He's even somebody, a very, very good judge, said to me, when are you going 6 bends? Well, I didn't even know he'd get 555 weeks ago.
Yes, 6 months ago, you'd have laughed at
him. Yeah. So that's where we are. We're in. It's incredible to think we're in the semi-final of a Greyhound Derby. And even that alone is enough. Except I've had quite a lot of money on him to get to the final. In fact, I win quite a lot of money if he gets to the final.
So there's added jeopardy on Saturday night.
150 to 1 I got at the beginning with 2 bookmakers, one in Ireland and one in England. So
now, Gary, I'm sitting here obviously in Dublin, and I'm wearing short sleeves, but I'm actually considering going upstairs and get a jumper or a hoodie or something. Obviously, we haven't stated where you are right now, but we can tell by the sun coming in the windows that you're not in sunny Ireland.
I'll try and show you. Ian. Just let me see if I can show you. So I don't know if you can see that. I don't.
I saw some swimming. I saw a swimming.
That's my swimming pool. And that I've had to put the chiller on because it's 38. The water. It's just too hot to get in.
So tell us where exactly you are, Gary.
I'm in Dubai.
Wow.
I came back 2 weeks ago. I work in Dubai, so I came back 2 weeks ago. It's quite a funny story how my mother, you wouldn't believe what my mother does to get to watch Kilara Icon. She bounces satellites around the world from Dubai just on a link that I have to send her because she can't do it on her own. So the whole family get a link from me from WhatsApp, whether it's Racing Post Greyhound TV or they're using my Barking Buzz account to watch it. And that's coming via Dubai. So it's Ireland, Dubai, back to England for them to watch the dog.
And tell me, what is your hometown, Gary?
Windermere.
Windermere.
Place called Windermere, yeah, in the Lake District, about 80 miles north of Manchester.
Now, I know you're a Manchester City fan. You can't help but know that by following your Twitter account. You'll be delighted to see the Man United players in behind me here. But which would you prefer? Would you prefer Messi to go to Man City, or would you prefer Kilara Icon to get to the Derby final?
No brainer. City can get relegated if we get to the final. I might love Man City, but I don't love them like I love my dogs.
I think we all appreciate that answer, Gary. Listen, on Saturday night, where you'll be watching it from obviously the comfort of your home there via satellite link, just a glass of wine in hand, or just chill out, or who's going to be with you?
You know, I'm never normally nervous, but last Saturday I was a little nervous. My wife will be with me. She'll probably be as far apart as she needs to be to protect herself. If he goes round 10 behind, if he goes round 10 behind, if he goes round 2 behind, I'll be cheering him on because I think he'll qualify. I don't think it'll matter what's in front of him if he goes behind 2 behind. If he goes behind 10 behind, we're not going to qualify. That was just a freak result last Saturday. But we'll see. You know, you've got to be in there, haven't you? And we're in the final 12. So you can say, you know, you're one of the 12 best greyhounds in Ireland at the moment. And that's phenomenal for somebody who only has one greyhound at a time. I don't have a whole team of greyhounds. I only buy one at a time and follow that one diligently. So, yeah, it's really, really exciting. And what you guys have done, and I really hope that you continue it, not just through lockdown and through this COVID pandemic, but all the social media, all the Zoom, for the Laurels, for the Cesara, which I think if you can get owner involvement like you've got it now, I think the sport will really, really benefit because what you guys, what BoyleSports and Sarah's done and what the IGB and you have done is bring it into people's homes like they've never seen before. You only have to go on Twitter today and it'll be crazy with the guys who follow greyhounds will be all over it because it's taken us to the next level. And you guys, you know, to be stand up and counted, you should be very proud of what you've done to get it to where it is now. And if it can continue, it will be fantastic. Even if you had I had a dog, 2007, called Kingsmill Sparky that I bought off the Roaches, and it won an A4 competition at Enniscorthy. That was as good as getting the Derby to me. It helped that it had done the fastest time of the year, and it went to the gym crack in England and won its heat before it did a race. But it had done 28.83 with no going allowance and a Scorthy, so it was a fast dog. But that gave me as much pride as this Icon dog. When they're your dogs, it's different now because you're bringing it to everybody's attention, and it's not just the owners and the trainers that are seeing it, it's the general public. I mean, 7 years ago, I was sat in a pub called Fibber McGee's in Dubai, and I used to go there for a drink with Eamon Cleary. And I had just bought Droopy's Latina.
A Derby-winning owner, obviously.
Well, both, and he was based in Dubai at the time. So he'd come out here, and obviously he won with Ballier and Sim. And me and Eamon, I couldn't drink as much as him, but I tried. We would sit down in Fibbers, and I just bought Latina. I bought a dog called Swift Painter, and Robert rang me up, and he said, "This is a really good dog, Gary." He said, "But do you want a very good dog?"
It was the fawn dog, the very strong running dog you had, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, he got injured, but he was a good dog when we had him, and then he went over to Seamus's. We took him over there, and he got injured. But Robert said to me, "You want this dog? You need to buy this dog," and that's how we got Latina. And I just met Eamon at the same time, and so then Latina turns his head in a Derby quarterfinal, which you'd never expected him to do. He used to win his races by 10, run through dogs.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly, completely out of character at the time.
Completely out. And do you know what Eamon did the next day? He rang me up and he said, "I'll give you $4,000 for that dog." I said, "Yeah." I couldn't say what I couldn't say what I would say to him. And what happened to Latina was, in his clearing trial at Newbridge, he broke his hook. So that's why you never saw him again. And then he's now in a farm in Shropshire. I saw him about 6 weeks ago. Yeah. So it's fantastic to see them when they're like that. But funny story that two of us in the same pub might be Derby winning owners. How unreal is that?
I tell you what, there's few enough Derby winning owners, but when two of them land in the same pub in Dubai, you know, maybe it is a case of fate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, it's some journey, and you just ride the crest of the wave, don't you? You love it. What I will say is that Robert Gleeson told me that this was going to happen, and that's astonishing.
Well, he told you to get to a Derby final. Let's hope he's right. Gary, just before we let you go, he'd be a big price on Saturday night. You'd have to avail, would you?
Yeah, I backed him at 40. Sky Bet had him at 14-1 each way last week. Yeah. And the only reason I backed him is because I was disgusted at the price. So I thought I'll make them suffer a bit. So we got 100 quid each way on it, Sky Bet with them. And that's the only reason we backed him. And he's 25-1 now with a couple of firms. And each way, you know, I've got enough money on him to get to the final, but I will be having a little bet on him to be in the first two. I mean, I know all you guys, I know everybody thinks Pastana will get a clear, etc., etc. I'm telling you, if I get a clear on the first two bends, I'm can run most of them down.
Gary, we've all seen enough Derby finals to know that anything can happen.
Yeah. And it's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. And it's so enjoyable. This Derby has been so enjoyable, even though the crowds haven't been there. I mean, what about the anomaly of the third round when dogs were charging the traps? And then that stopped, and nobody's charged the trap since. It's, you know, it is very, it's been a derby that we wouldn't have noticed the charging of the traps if we didn't have anything else to look at.
It would have got lost in the noise. It would have been missed, but it's sort of heightened when you realise it's such an eerie place at the moment that you can actually hear every little movement, every little charge, any bump like that, you can hear it. And yeah, it's very much a different type of derby than previous years.
Yeah, and it's such a shame because it's such a fantastic stadium, and it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end. I remember watching Tyra Rhino and his litter brother fight out a final. I think his litter brother was favourite, and he won it. Was that McGuigan's? There was two Tyra dogs finished first and second, I think.
McGuigan and Big Mike finished first and second. I think Rhino may have beaten. He may have beaten. Was it Laurel or something? Yeah. I'm not sure they were little brothers.
Yeah, the two others that were litter brothers. You know, I remember that Derby final, and I'd gone over there, and I met quite a lot of English guys over there, and we had that crumbling stadium for our Derby, and then you go to Shelbourne Park, and it's like walking into Caesar's Palace or something compared to what we were used to.
You're making
And
me
that's why
feel
I
all
love the
you're making me
place.
feel all melancholy now, Gary. You know, I'm struggling to realise that we're going to be doing this in front of an empty stadium
I
on
know
the 19th. You know, tell me this: you'll obviously be watching it from Dubai. You've no plans to go anywhere else to watch it, or go to home with your mother.
No, I can't because of the self-isolation, etc., travelling. So, to be honest, even if he got to the final and they allowed owners in, I think I'd struggle to get there because it's not so much getting there, it's getting back here and getting back into the country. But my 81-year-old mother said, don't worry, I'll go.
Margie, she'd be more than welcome if that's the case.
Correct.
Listen, Gary, we're going to leave you be there. For the moment, enjoy the few days ahead. Of course, Saturday night will be D-Day, but listen, I know for one that I hope that you're there on final night, because you clearly are a man that loves your greyhounds, and you certainly love this greyhound.
I do. Thanks very much, Ian.
Gary, thanks a million.
Bye. Great stuff. Right, I'm going sunbathing.